Right, okay, folks, welcome to episode 28 of the Nice and Nasty, and I've got a great guest lined up. It's the one and only Mr. Dave Games Animal Perry. How you doing, Dave?
All right, mate, you hear me clearly?
You're crystal clear, mate. Crystal clear.
Lovely. It's the first time I've used this setup to do a podcast. I use it for my radio show.
Yeah. Well, in fact, we'll talk about it in a wee minute. You're crystal clear.
I think the last time we chatted, I did it through my iPad, and it was a little bit echoey. So I thought,
I think it might have been.
Nice
It might have been.
Oh,
Hey, listen, thank you very much for taking time. I know you've chatted to me a few times. I mean, how often do you get asked to do these kind of things now? Is it increased in the last few years, or how do you kind of feel with these things?
It kind of ebbs and flows, you know.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that people forget you're alive, and then someone does a few things with you, and everyone remembers you, and then everybody wants to talk to you, and then people forget again. And when Games Master brought the book out last year,
I was going to say, yeah,
I bought the book out. Then I got asked to do lots of stuff. But I'll be honest with you, I don't do many of them. Because I think you get Dave Lash if you're not careful.
Well, I'm feeling particularly proud that you've actually agreed to come on this thing again. I mean, you're a regular. I mean, I'll be having you over for Christmas dinner. I mean, I think this is the third time actually. Bloody hell!
No, I'll make your friends list, won't I? It's nice. It's nice to be asked. I enjoyed it last time I came on the show. So
brilliant.
It's no problem. And I appreciate you guys. You put a lot of effort into these things, and the people. It's not of my generation, if you know what I mean. So I don't completely get it, but I know a lot of people that do this all the time: podcasting, YouTubing, TikToking, and all that. And it's a real big deal. It's no effort for me, really, is it, to come and talk some rubbish for an hour? And if it helps you guys out, I'm more than happy to do it.
Well, like I said, this. I mean, I do it purely. I've got a full-time job as a health and safety inspector person. This is purely a hobby. I think I make. I was looking at my Google account, and I think I'm up to £56, and that's like in a year. So it's I don't do it for money. Trust me.
All right. I didn't realize it was that small. I'll see you later.
It's bloody depressing. I mean, you look at a video that I put a video, I maybe get like 400 views, and you look at the thing, it's like 16 pence. It's like, holy shit! I'm beginning to sound a bit like Brian. What's his name? He's 17. He's been having a few rants about how skint he is because obviously he's 17 and brought out this re-released the old single again, and poor Brian's, I think he's living on benefits, and he gets less than £1,000 a year for it. But then he didn't write the song, so that's what he's forgetting.
Yeah, and he had the opportunity back in the day. I mean, Tony Mortimer wrote all the songs and that, of course. But he was the most famous one. Brian Harvey.
Yeah.
He was the media darling, and he was involved with Danielle Westbrook when she was hot and all that sort of thing. And he was the guy who had the name and the reputation and everything.
Aye.
He could have cashed in on it, and he probably tried to, and it didn't work out. But that's what happens in life, isn't it?
He was like the Robbie Williams to he was 17. What Robbie Williams was to take that, I mean,
you're absolutely
right.
But a lot more silly looking.
Did you ever meet Daniela West? I can't even bloody pronounce her name. How was it again? Daniela Westbrook. Did you ever meet her at all when you were doing any of your
Yes, she was on our Games World Season 2 Christmas special, and I had to give her a Christmas kiss.
Was that before? Did you still have her nose at that point?
Oh, she was pretty good looking back then. Yeah, she still had a nose. Yeah, I messed it up a few times. It's amazing how many times you have to retake it.
But listen, before we get going, I was actually doing I was nominated to be a mental health first aider at my work. So I had day one of my course today. I've got day two tomorrow. And the first thing they said to us, can you tell us a wee bit about yourself and tell us something that we may not know? And I said, blah, 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 blah. I do YouTube. I love to go in and talk about old computer games. And I don't really play them, but I just love talking about them. All right. And I said, I do it on YouTube. I said, in fact, there was 3 people. 2 were young, and one guy was the same age as me. I says, in fact, did anybody watch Games Master? And 2 of them were like completely blank faces.
Yeah.
I went, right, okay. And the guy, I had a Spectrum and a SNES. I says, do you remember Dominic Diamond and Dave? Oh yeah, that was the guy that wrote about that. I says, I'm interviewing. Well, I'm speaking to him tonight. No way. I went, aye. Okay, now.
Brilliant.
And I think, I mean, I don't know if you've met any of your heroes, but you know, I'm truly blessed in what I do. I like to think because I'm a nice person, I'm Scottish, I'm like Billy Connolly, I can just talk and talk and talk and talk. I've not got a huge YouTube channel, but I have been very, very lucky. I've had the opportunity to speak to yourselves, guys like yourself. I mean, last night I was meant to be speaking to John here, and I actually had to cancel it because I had something crop up. But I've met loads
Nice
like,
guy.
John. I'll tell you, the last time I spoke to John, it went on for 5 hours.
Oh
And
yeah,
I had to cut him off. I says, "Listen, John, it's getting about late, mate. I've got my work tomorrow." You know,
John can talk. John can talk for England. Absolutely.
yeah, no, and I mean, I was asked to do a couple of. You're probably aware of the like the Play Blackpool and whatever it is events. I was asked to like host the talks 2 years, and 2 years ago I got to chat to John Romero, and I remember sitting there thinking, fucking hell, you know, 10 years ago, I'm sitting in my bedroom thinking, I think I will record myself playing a game and I'll put it on YouTube, and it got like 2 views. And I think, how have I gone from there to sitting in front of like 400 people and talking to John Romero? He's sitting next to me. I'm like, this is
He's
mental.
a funny guy, though, John Romero. Isn't
He's a lovely guy. He's an absolute.
He's a lovely guy. He's very pleasant. His wife is the bruiser. She's like his minder, and but he turns up at everything. Everywhere you go, that's a game related, you know, convention or show or whatever. John Romero shows up. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like it's like I've stopped being impressed by meeting John Romero now. Now it's I'm always almost worried if he's not there, like an old relative that hasn't shown up. Like,
it's a wee bit like it's a wee bit like yourself. You've been on this a couple of times. You very kindly took part in my charity thing as well a couple of years ago. And I was going to say, I was like the first to interview John Romero, and he's been back since. I think he was there. He's coming back next year as well. I'm like, been there, done that, got the T-shirt. You know what I mean? And it's funny you're talking about his missus. I didn't know who his missus was, and then when I was kind of setting up the microphone and all that, and people were coming in, and then next minute in came John, and you know he's quite distinctive. He's kind of goth, the hair, the painted nails, and all that. And I, who's that with him? And that's his missus. I'm like, all right. And then there was like they put 3 chairs. I goes, what's the third chair for? Oh yeah, she's going up as well. And I went, I don't know who she is. I didn't prepare any questions because I look and waffle. I didn't. Yeah,
Yoko Ono. Fucking Yoko Ono.
And the funny thing was,
she's Yoko Ono.
Yeah. I see what you did there. But it was quite funny because he's such a nice guy, and I said to him, so anyway, John, I say, you're doing all these games, you're at the top of your game, blah blah blah. I says, so was it quite literally hot tubs, hookers, and cocaine? And then I just felt the eyes burning. I kind of looked around, and his missus had like leaned back and was just giving me this look. And I went, oh. And he went, I can't possibly say.
We'll have a drink later and tell you all about it. Yeah.
Anyway, listen, I guess before we start,
okay.
Congratulations on becoming a granddad. Is it granddad, papa?
Yeah, granddad, yeah.
Granddad, fantastic. Is it a wee boy, a wee grandson, granddaughter?
Little boy. I'm absolutely made up. You know,
I bet you, mate.
Well, my daughter came along in '99. I had no idea that I wanted to settle down and be a dad. I was living quite a wild life, and and I just took to it. I just love babies. I had no idea I did, and I do. And now my daughter's had a grandson, and I spend as much time as I can with him, and I love it.
I've seen obviously your photos on Facebook and that as well. Yeah. I love babies, although I couldn't eat one in one sitting. But I've got a daughter, so I'm not really a mean kind of person. But I've not had that. I've not been blessed with any grandkids. I don't know what'll happen. But it's funny you should say that because I think when you're younger, you sort of think, oh, I don't want kids, whatever. But I think when you get to a certain age, I think when you get to kind of our age, you get over 50, whatever it is, you're just like, you know what, I've had my life, I've done all the high living, I just want to enjoy myself. And I think as I've gotten older, I certainly enjoy like simple things like going out for walks or whatever. Just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know the weirdest thing is discovering you get to a certain age and Christmas comes around again. It comes around faster every year, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm excited about pants and socks. You know, people say, "What do you want for Christmas?" I'd love some really chunky socks that I can wear with boots. Do you know what I mean? get some new pants and some chunky socks, I'm made up. Nothing else I really want. You know what I mean? If I want something, I'll get it during the year. Pants and socks, though, I won't buy myself during the year. I can't be asked. But if I get something at Christmas, when I was younger, what a shit present that is. But as you get older, I don't enough pants and socks now.
Well, last year, and to be fair, it was my girlfriend. She said, "Oh, what do you want for your Christmas?" And we were walking. There's a kind of shopping complex where I am, and we went into a knife shop. And I went, you know what? I could really use a good set of kitchen knives. So that's what she's got me. She got me some 3 kitchen knives, and I was like made up, and I've got the sharpener as well. I was like, wow, this is fantastic.
Between men and women, because you're made up with that. She probably would have left you if you bought that for her. It's true, isn't it?
It is.
My wife bought me some kind of power tool for the garden or some gadget. I'd be made up with it. If I bought a pressure cooker, I'd be the end of the world.
I bought, to be fair, I did buy my girlfriend a fridge last year. You ought to see her face light up when she opened it. Yeah, fantastic. And before we crack on, by the way, I've got Dave has insisted that he has to see the Tottenham Man United game, which starts at in 50 minutes. So I've set an alarm for 8:55.
Thank you very much.
7:55 even. So yeah, we'll make sure we're finished before then.
That.
The radio show, can you just tell the listeners a wee bit about that? Because I've seen you pop in. You've been kind of advertising, and I see it obviously on your Facebook page. But it's on extremely late at night, isn't it? Where is it? And how did you get into this?
Okay, well, radio was something I hadn't done yet. I'd done magazines, books, television, all the other bits and pieces. But what I hadn't done was radio. I'd been on a number of radio shows. But I hadn't done radio, and people were often saying to me, no word of a lie, people would say, "You'd have a good voice for radio." I've got quite a rich, deep, soft voice.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, okay. So that was, and then one day I just thought, I'm going to do radio. I'm going to do it. So I went down to the local radio station, which is Riviera FM, the local FM station. And I asked to see the station controller and arranged to meet him. And I went in the next day and sat down with him and told him what I'd done and who I was. Not because I was giving it the big I am, but because I wanted to emphasize that I'm reasonably confident in front of a microphone and a camera.
Yeah, of course.
And and pretty much within that conversation, he gave me my own show. And then I think part of the clincher at that stage was I wanted to do a show called The Dave Cave, which is what my show's called, because I wanted to play darker music, proto-punk, gothic music, the kind of stuff I used to listen late 70s, early 80s. So very much, I always describe it as being music as dark as my wardrobe. And I wear a lot of black. So that kind of music. And then I wanted to do it between 10 and midnight on a Sunday. Now, I think that was a gift because I don't think anyone wants that shift generally, but I asked for it because I grew up listening to John Peel on Radio 1 at midnight every Sunday night. And that was when he'd play all the indie music and the punk music and the slightly eclectic music that you couldn't hear. Because when I grew up, you didn't have MTV, you didn't have Spotify, you didn't have YouTube, anything like that. So if it wasn't being played on the radio, somewhere, you had no way of hearing new music, really. Going down to the local clothes shop, there's some bootleg tapes or something. But so I grew up listening to it. So I wanted a show that played that kind of music at exactly the same time as I grew up listening to that kind of music. So that's what I did. And they gave me the show. And then the show proved very popular. And so they moved me to a Saturday night. So I'm still in the 10 till 12. I think I'm still in the 10 till 12 slot. I think it's safer for them. I think they're a little bit worried. Because that type of music is not necessarily Ofcom friendly.
Yeah.
I'm playing stuff by Bauhaus and Cure and the Cult and the Sex Pistols and the
Jesus and Mary Chain as well. Hopefully,
Mary Chain are in there.
Yeah.
Make sure you know those songs inside out because they'll slip a few expletives in there that don't go down well on the FM radio waves. So I think they like me to be between 10 and 12 because then if any of the music just gets a little bit explicit,
safe.
Many people. Nah.
That's great. So I mean, how does one who doesn't live, you're down in kind of Torquay, how does one person listen to that? Like how can
obviously if you're in the area of Torbay, 20 mile zone or whatever, you get it on the FM station, of course, but also we live in a digital age, don't we? So you can go to rivierafm.com's website. And on that page, then if you scroll right down to the bottom, there's a little play triangle, and you can click on there. And 10 o'clock on Saturday night, up I'll pop, and you can listen to it over the internet. You know, and Alexa will get it up for you, that kind of thing. So you can listen to it all over the country, all over the world, but only on the radio within about 20-25 miles.
So it's Riviera FM. Is it recorded? So, I mean, could I go in and listen to like last week's?
Yes, you
can. Oh, brilliant!
You go to Mixcloud. You get an app called Mixcloud, and you look up the Dave Cave. You'll find my shows on there every week. It's uploaded there, so you can listen to it on there. It's a nice show for doing a bit of work too, if you know what I mean. If you like that kind of music, because it's 2 hours of just old-fashioned, like I say, Bauhaus, Pistols, Generation X, that kind of music, you know, and you can just turn it on whenever. So it's pretty good. I enjoy doing it. I do it mainly. I do it purely because I missed presenting, because I gave up presenting as such when my daughter came along in '98 when I left Games World, and I kind of missed doing that a little bit. But also, I love the music, and I'm huge. I've got a huge record collection. I collect vinyl.
Do you? Yeah. I've
still got my CD collection, but my wife won't listen to any of it with me. She doesn't like my music taste very much. I don't get to
That's
play
a problem. Yeah.
Myself. So with the radio show, I get to play it for other people, which I enjoy, because music's one of those things. It's better when you share it.
Of course it is. Of course it is. That's fantastic. Just being able to, it's like the perfect radio show. I'll play exactly what I want. So how does it actually work when it comes to music? Presumably you can't just pick random music. Have you got to tell them ahead of the kind of?
No, the guys there completely trust me for whatever reason, and I have gradually. I've been doing it for over a year now, year and a bit, and I have a system now with them where they let me upload new tracks, and they just go straight on the system, and I just play them on my show, and they trust me to regulate those tracks and make sure there's nothing on them that's going to embarrass them and everything.
Yeah.
And let me play whatever. I don't have to run my my program past anybody. I do it in the moment, and I play whatever I want. And
that is awesome.
I've only had one person, who was a fellow DJ, got in touch with me, and he pointed out that I played a Gary Glitter song, and that they have a kind of a personal thing amongst the DJs not to play Gary Glitter music on the show. And I pointed out it wasn't. It was the Glitter Band. So that's and it was a Human League version of a Gary Glitter song. So it wasn't Gary Glitter. So I was keeping within the regulations, even though he realized it, you know. So that's me all over.
That's fantastic. So do you just record it from your house rather than having to go into a studio? I take it.
Well, I go into the studio if I want to, but now, having been there a while, I record it from home generally, because 10 till midnight on a Saturday night means I wouldn't get back home until about 1:45 in the morning, and I'm at that age now. I like to be in bed around 10:30. You know what I mean? If I'm up at midnight, I'm in dangerous territory. It's uncharted waters. Now I don't know what I'll do. I know what I would have done, but if I try doing that now, I'll get in all sorts of trouble.
No, that's awesome. I mean, do you ever see? Obviously, you've got your tattoo shop, and how's that worked out? Because I know you moved about maybe 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, Revolver has been going for 18 years now, and
that's brilliant.
After 17 years almost in the same location, I actually bought us a smaller shop just down the road. So we moved down, and we sort of like shrunk down the amount of staff we had there and everything, and made it a much smaller, more condensed shop, full of people who I really know and trust, and it's just a smaller, more efficient shop to run, and I love it. It feels like home now. I've been in there over a year, but those were tough times, because trying to move a shop where you've got 17 years worth of crap in there, and then at the time I ruptured my bicep, so I only had one arm.
You were like struggling to carry stuff, weren't you? You were asking, is there any muscles that could come and help carry something?
Yeah, I couldn't even go up a ladder, you know what I mean, to do painting or anything, because if I fell, I was buggered. So yeah.
Well, my girlfriend just moved house a couple of months ago, and it was I'll tell you, you know who your friends are until it comes to moving house, and it was her and she's got a sore back. So it was me, and she's got a friend who's got a 15-year-old son, and he's built like the proverbial brick shithouse. He is massive. My waist is like the size of his thighs. He's gigantic. And so he was like, "Oh, I'll get that myself," and he was just picking up bits of furniture and carrying it on his shoulder and all that. But it almost killed me, honestly. Yeah.
It is hard work, and you're right. You do. I can, on one hand, I could do a list of people who I owe an awful lot to, and on all the other fingers and toes I have, I could do a list of people who said they were going to help and didn't. You find out. You do find out in the moment.
Just very last one before we crack on with this. Obviously, you've got your grandson. At what point are you going to say to him, you know, your old granddad? I was actually one of the UK's 10 most eligible bachelors. What do you think of that? You'll probably laugh in your face, obviously. What, you?
I usually tell everybody that within about an hour of meeting them, so I probably have told him already.
I would be boasting that too, mate. Trust me.
My favourite accolade. I got a T-shirt with it on, so I might wear it all the time. Brilliant. No, I haven't actually, but I should do. That would certainly annoy people if I turned up with that one. It would annoy my wife. My wife hates it.
Do you get that look, that kind of sideways look when or rolling her eyes when you tell her?
I get it all the time because my wife hates all that. She's not into any of that side of things, the show business side of things at all. And like I say, when I met her and when we were having the baby, I left Games World season 4. I asked if I could leave halfway through the show because I just wasn't into it anymore. I stopped doing presenting and that side of it. So that's never been a part of our life together, if you like. That was me before she met me. And I think she didn't like the me before she met me very much. So it's like the me that she's managed to change over the years.
So did she kind of know what you did? And did she know when you met her? We're getting the personal stuff. How did you actually meet her then? Was it?
Kind of did, but she was very unimpressed by it. I mean, and that was that was always the cruel irony of what we did for a living was, I was getting voted one of Britain's 50 most eligible bachelors. I was on TV 4 nights a week sometimes. And all I was impressing was 14-year-old boys. being a professional video gamer in the 90s was not a chick magnet, not exactly being a chick magnet. You know what I mean? Now acceptable, through YouTube and all that kind of thing. But back then, being a grown man playing video games, it didn't make you the hottest guy in the night. You know what I mean?
Obviously, you must. If you ever go to any of these, I don't know if you've been to you have been to some of the retro events. You'll get mobbed with 60-year-old guys. Roar!
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It's great. It's very, very weird. I was a hero to many, but not hot to that many, if you know what I mean.
But you're now Mr. Cool. You've got the ultimate gig, mate. You've got a tattoo. I mean, come on, having a tattoo. Is it a parlor? They call it a tattoo shop.
And they used to call parlors, didn't they? I mean,
parlor. I don't know what a parlor is actually.
Studio, a tattoo
studio. Yeah. It's funny. I've only got one tattoo.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about I was going to get a sleeve about 2-3 years ago until I realised that every bugger's got a sleeve and it's like so kind of. And I was thinking about it, and my girlfriend Lee said, "Well, we can go into Stirling. There's a good tattoo shop." And I went in. I was kind of just looking at the thing, and the girl said, "Oh, you interested?" I says, "Yeah, I'm thinking about something." She goes, "Oh," I says, "Out of interest, when could you actually do it?" She goes, "Oh, we'll be free in about 10 minutes." And I thought, that's not a good sign.
No, a little bit more planning than that, please. Yeah. But the whole thing about not getting a sleeve because everyone's got them and it's a bit passe and all that. You know what I tell people when they come in the shop, and obviously from time to time someone says something similar, and I'll say, look, not getting a tattoo because someone has got a tattoo is just as bad as getting a tattoo because someone has got a tattoo. You're still allowing someone else to influence your decision, body and your life. So never ever be influenced by the crowd. Always do. If you want a tattoo, you get a tattoo. If you don't want a tattoo, don't get a tattoo. I'm covered in tattoos. My wife doesn't have a single tattoo.
Really?
And you know what? I admire her. Because she's lived with a tattoo artist for 26, 27 years now, and she could have a tattoo so easily.
Yeah.
And she never has. So, I mean, that I admire her for that because because everybody goes up to him and says, "Oh, why have you not got tattoos? Your husband owns a revolver, and you know, blah blah blah." And it's like, no, I that she never bowed to the peer pressure and just got a tattoo because it was way to do it, you know. So 10 out of 10. But you gotta do what you gotta do in life. You definitely, whatever you want to do, you gotta do it because.
Do you ever try and talk somebody out of getting a tattoo? Like,
yeah, a lot. If I don't think it's the right tattoo, if I think they've got the wrong ideas about what it's going to do for them, if they've got the wrong idea about how it's going to turn out, I'll often talk people out of it. Yeah, we talk a lot of people out of tattoos. I don't do it just to take the money. You know, I'm very lucky. 15 years or so of running Revolver, my shop. A lot of my customers are also friends now, and they weren't friends before they came to me, but we've become friends during their tattoo journey, if you like, because it's a very intimate thing. You're inside someone's personal space for hours and hours on end, and you tend to tell each other everything, and it's almost like sacred space. It's like what goes on in the studio stays in the studio.
I totally get that.
But I don't know their family. I don't know their relatives. I don't know their partners. I'm never going to tell anybody what they told me. But sometimes it's nice for people to have somewhere where they can unload and feel safe unloading.
Have you had that? Have you had people telling you something like nobody else knows this, blah, 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 and you're thinking, ooh,
yeah, quite shocking things told to me in the shop, and some people, you know, they leave and you think, you've left that in my head now. You know why? There's been some very unpleasant things, and also some things like some illegal stuff going on. I had one guy organising a big drug drop while he was sat in my chair on his phone, and I thought he was joking. He wasn't joking at all, because I saw it on the news the next day. I was like, Jesus, that really happened. He was having a tattoo while he was doing it on his mobile phone. I just thought he was just being Billy Big Bollocks, but he wasn't. It was actually happening.
And you're like, Christ, if he comes in for another one, I better not make a mistake, or I am dead.
No, if he comes in for another one, he better bring me what's it?
Right, listen, mate, I'm going to push things on a wee bit. I'm just conscious about 25 minutes. So anyway, folks, listen, you know what Dave's here for, apart from just he loves to chat to me. It's a nice and nasty. The easiest way to describe it is I'm going to be sending Dave to a desert island. He can pick 3 video games, and these are the only games he will ever get to play ever again. It can be anything. It can be PlayStation 5. It can be a PC game. If it's an online game, there are people on other islands that can play the games with you. And also, what's that?
We've got solar power.
You've got whatever power it takes to run these things. It could be a Defender cabinet, whatever you want. 3 games, but then not so nice is I'm going to ask you to pick. Well, that's actually quite a good thing. I'm giving you the opportunity to pick 3 games that you can eradicate from history. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to just go through them one at a time and just explain what the game is and why you've picked it, Dave.
Okay, which ones do you want me to do first?
Go for the nice ones first. The nice ones. We'll leave the nasties to the end. Yeah.
Right. Hang on a second. I made a little list here for myself because this is hard. You know, I spent the last couple of weeks because I knew I was going to do this because you asked me to do this a little while ago, and I let you a few times. I'm aware of that, but
no, you didn't let me down. Don't worry. We've all got lives. I did let John here down last night. You know what I mean? We've all got things, so don't worry about it, mate.
And I thought about it, and so I spoke to a few people that I go out with, I play Skittles with, and things like that of an evening in the pubs, and I asked them because I know they're all old gamers, and it was amazing the ideas that came in. Because I was hoping someone was going to give me an absolute gem, but they didn't. First game I would play forever and ever for the rest of my life, and I thought my ways around this quite a bit. The first one is Player Manager by Anko on the Amiga. Absolutely. My all-time favorite game. Several reasons for playing this, for wanting to play this one for the rest of my life. It's a player manager game, but it's a brilliant player manager game in that it's simple. The statistics are limited, but they are effective. The game is played out in front of you on a screen, so you can see how the statistics that each player has influences his play within the team. You can also the players are all completely made up. It completely keeps regenerating, so it never runs out. So if I'm on a desert island, that's a good thing. You know, I'm not like Speedball 2. I'm not going to play 2 seasons and be done. This And you can also play it in manager mode, or you can play it as a player. So you can actually control your 11 players on the pitch.
Right.
So you can either go to manager mode, or you can play it in player mode if you want to. And when you initially start playing the game, I don't know if you're familiar with Player Manager by Anko. It was incredible. Steve
Was
Screech.
that kind of like this? That followed, obviously, we had the kickoff to goal. That was a kind of following, wasn't it?
In between. I think Player
Aye.
came first. Then Player Manager used the kickoff engine to have a management game, and then Kickoff 2 came out after, and had a much better game engine in it than Kickoff had.
Yeah.
But when you played Player Manager originally, what happens is when you it generates a team for you, completely generates a gaming environment that's not real. It's unique every time it generates it, and it puts you in the team. You're a player manager, so you're an international quality player. And it decides whether you're a midfielder, forward, or a defender. And then for the first few seasons that you're playing, you play in your team in position. So the team plays run by the computer, but you can play in position, or you can control the whole team. But as each season goes past, you lose stamina and speed. So gradually, as if you're aging,
Yeah.
decide when to hang your boots up. So it's very clever. It's a great game, and it's definitely one I would play forever. It's the best football game that has ever existed.
So yeah, if you're not playing it, you actually get it uses like the kickoff engine to watch the game.
Yeah, you just sit back.
Right.
And you can influence the game by changing tactics in game and bringing on substitutes in game, but not actually playing in game. And you also then go on the coaching field, and you can coach your players. And say you've got certain statistics that are shown. You think that maybe your defender is better suited as a forward, or forward better suited as midfielders. You can actually change their position, tell the coaches to change their positions, and they'll retrain them in those other positions. But it's very, very simple. The season, there's not many teams in the leagues. There's not many stats on the board. So many football management games, and I hate them. And football management games nearly came into my chucking away questions later, because so many they turned into spreadsheets. I use Microsoft Excel. I don't want to play Microsoft Excel. You know what I mean? What a stupid idea that is, sitting down and just watching statistics and figures on a sheet in front of you. I mean, it's just horrible. Just honestly, at that point, just get up and go and do something else.
just a quick segue when you've mentioned that. Do you know there is actually Microsoft Excel World Championships that actually have face-offs? And I don't know why. I think I was trying to figure out how to do a formula in Excel, and I typed into YouTube, and then it's like, you may like this video, and I shit you not, I think it's in America. They have the Excel World Champions, and they've got to do a series of like sort these into order and blah 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 blah. And it's like there's actually a crowd that go to watch people doing live Excel. I know you think I'm bullshitting. Trust me, it's a thing.
These things are amazing. These things are amazing because I discovered a thing last year myself. I have a number of customers come in my shop, and some of them are quite creative people. And I have this one couple come in my shop, and they used to be in a band together, and they've played at a few parties for me and that. And they're not doing that anymore. They're trying to find different ways of being creative. And I gave one of them some Warhammer figures to paint. Warhammer had sent to me, and I wasn't going to do anything with them. And she was great at painting them and everything. And from that, they sort of like realized their love of role playing. And so they started doing Dungeons and Dragons and that sort of thing, and holding Dungeons and Dragons nights. And he became a very good dungeon master and started hosting these big nights and groups. And I had no idea. He came in for a tattoo one day, and I said, "Who's this?" And he told me, I can't remember what they're called, the Nine or something, I don't know. And they're a group of dungeoneers, like dungeon master players, and they play online on YouTube and everything. But they tour. They went to somewhere like the Royal Albert Hall or somewhere, or Wembley Stadium or Wembley Arena or something. 10,000 people sold out to watch 9 guys on a stage, 9 guys and girls playing Dungeon Master. Yeah, playing a Dungeon Master game, all dressed up in their costumes and that, and going, rolling their dice and going, I will pick up the elf egg of, whatever. And honestly, huge audiences. Who knew that? There are worlds out there we're just totally unaware of.
Never mind Harry Styles, bloody that Dungeon Masters. They're going to sell the stadiums out for you. That's mental. But yeah, getting back to your I mean, I loved Kickoff, and then Kickoff 2 came along, and then Sensi Soccer came along, and that kind of took over for me. But yeah, I was a massive fan of Football Manager. I mean, I'm lucky enough. I've had Kevin Thomas on a couple of times, and Football Manager was extremely simple. I'm not a football fan at all, but I loved it. Me and my mate used to stay up all night and play Football Manager. And there's a guy I work with. He plays, is it Championship Manager? I can't remember. Is it by Domark or I can't remember what it is. And he goes, "Oh, you need to play this." And I bought it on Steam, I think it was, and I put it on. I'm like, play match. And in fact, it took about 20 minutes to just get to how did this fucking play the match, and I'm trying to get it going. And then I think, where's the highlights? And then I realised it was like, this guy's passed to this guy, and I went, what is the point? I get why some people, that it's not about watching the game, it's about putting in your commands and it spits out the results. For me, I need the sort of eye candy of actually seeing the game. So I might actually check that out. So yeah, what was that in the Commodore Amiga then, Dave? You played it on?
Yes, Commodore Amiga.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
great day.
And as you say, you never. What team? What do you call your team, by the way?
That's a really good question. No one's ever asked me that. My team was called Red Star, which used to really annoy me because when you play Player Manager, you always have to play as the team in the blue shirts. Which frustrated me because my Subbuteo team as a young boy had been called Red Star, and they'd always been a Man United team, but I used to paint like a different pattern on the shirts for Red Star. And I thought, oh yeah, as a young guy, I thought, well, when I get Player Manager, I'll be able to bring my team Red Star to life on the computer screen. And then it made me play in blue shirts. And as a Man U fan as well, playing with a team with blue shirts was it took some getting used to.
Yeah, it took a bit to stomach that. Fantastic. Yeah. I always play as Partick Thistle, or as they're known in Scotland, Partick Thistle nil. Yeah. Anyway, fantastic opening choice. I can totally get that. You'll never get bored. Fantastic. Game number 2.
Right, game number 2. Now, this is where it gets tricky. That's the only one I was really sure of because lots of different reasons for different games. So, what were the options?
One of my friends interviewed me for my podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I found it really difficult.
It is hard.
Interestingly, I did actually pick World of Sensible Soccer for that same reason. Yeah, same thing. So many options. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking. Because part of me wants to pick, games that I love playing, but then I'm like, do I need to just play games? Because another game I love, my real go-to game, a real feel-good game these days, is Witcher 3. I love Witcher 3, but I'm going to get bored of that after a few years, because although you don't realize you're on rails, you kind of are. You've got this open world, but there's only so much you can do with it. So do I need to pick games that are infinite? So I assume so. So I Witcher 3, I love Witcher 3.
And title up to yourself, but I would.
But my second game I'll take, which I'm slightly annoyed with myself for because it's not very imaginative, because it's very similar to my first game. But maybe I like that kind of game. I don't know. Is Muds by Rainbow Arts. Also on the Amiga. So that's easy. So I haven't got to keep setting up and setting down, have I? I've got
Muds? I haven't even heard of that one.
Okay. Not a lot of people have. Mean, Ugly, Dirty Sports. It's amazing. It came out in 1990 originally, running on DOSBox. And it eventually went onto the Amiga, which is what I played it on. I was a huge Amiga player. Those were my best days of gaming. It's a fantastic game. It goes on forever, which is great. Let me explain it to you. You're in the future, kind of in outer space. It's a version of a kind of a gridiron game, almost like American football. Okay. Once again, you're a manager, but you also play as the team. But you travel in each world you go to. When you've won a league, you go to another world. And in each world you go to, you travel from town to town, city to city, taking on the various teams. The teams are made up of a number of different aliens. and monsters and creatures. Every monster, creature, and alien has different attributes.
Mhm.
Some are strong, some are fast, some are weak, some can do tricks, some can shoot well. They all have different skills and different attributes, depending on the type of creature they are. So when you learn to play the game and you learn what tactics you want to use in playing the game, then you want to assign the particular aliens or creatures that would fill those positions well. Like you might want a defender that's a real brute of an animal. But you want really fast strike, really fast wingers. But the wingers, because they're really fast, they're going to be really weak. So if one of the other team's big defenders gets hold of your winger, he's pretty much going to injure him and put him out of the game. And then you have to run to the other end of the field, and you score by jumping across a moat and throwing a little animal called a flock into the net. But then as you come back into the moat, you have to swim back across the water. And there's a giant creature in the water that will eat your player if you don't time it just right. So you'll lose your player. It's the silliest, most wonderful game. And it gets really absorbing. And you could do things like when you go to cities, you can try and bribe the other team. Or you can pick a fight with the other team to try and injure a few of them before the game, and that kind of thing. It's just great fun. And I remember I had it on the Amiga for years and hardly looked at it. And I just started playing it one day, and I never stopped. And then one day when I sold all my Amiga gear a little while ago, I should never have done it, but did. One of the few games I didn't sell was Muds because I enjoyed it so much. Mean Ugly Dirty Sports M.U.D.S. Rainbow
so it's S. I've written with Z, right? Muds finale.
And it's wonderful game, and I think I'll take that one because it makes me smile.
And is it just is it obviously computer controlled opposition? Is it two players? Can you play two players as well?
I don't think so. I've never played two players. I never played
just in case Man Friday turns up and he wants a game, you know what I mean? You've got the extra joystick. I'll even throw in another joystick for you. I don't know if you can see that, can you? Yeah, he's a character.
Man Friday. He could be anything, can he? He could be white, yellow, black. You say black or color? I don't know what the right thing you can use now. I'm confused with the modern world. I don't know what I can call. Anymore.
Yeah, I know. I must admit. I mean, I'm the same age as yourself. I had an Amiga from like 89 till about 94. I have never. I think you might have mentioned that in a previous chat that we've had, but I can't honestly say I've heard of it. And if you were saying to me, listen, I've got an idea for a game, and you've just told me what you've told me, I went, that'll never work. I'm going to go and check it out. I'm going to go and check it out.
Please do, because it's absolutely mental. And there's no other game like it. It's just incredible. It's a sport with its own rules, and the rules heavily depend upon the creatures you choose to put in your teams as to how it works out. And it's kind of the game Speedball should have become.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because that's my one gripe with Speedball always was too short. Great game. Once you've got that game engine and you've got that environment, create a bigger world, like Sensi World of Soccer, where you've got loads and loads of leagues and loads of star players, and you can sign and bring in players now, like you could in Speedball 2 briefly, and have it as an ongoing game where you can build a super team. With Speedball 2, you get one crack at the league and you're done. And it's very, very frustrating. And it would have been so easy, I think, or it should have been, to create a bigger, more expansive version of World of Speedball, cash in, and they never did. But this game is kind of like that, because you bring in all these star players and you really covet them. You can afford some, you can't afford others, and they really affect the play. It's wonderful. Again, 1990, same as Anko.
That was it. Rainbow Arts, you said, yeah.
Sorry, I got back off at the moment. Sorry.
Oh, so was it Rainbow Arts? You said
Rainbow Arts, yeah.
Yeah. They did things like Garrison 1 and 2 and that for the Amiga. It was kind of like a gauntlet type clone. I've never even heard of that one, Dave. I'll 100% going to check out. What I love about doing these podcasts is you're basically getting. I mean, you've played 1 or 2 games in your life, and so you're getting people's selection of their best games. I had Gary Penn, who Gary's a massive, he's a lovely guy, absolutely a Gemini guy, and it's getting to hear. You're thinking, I think this is episode 27, so in theory 27 times 360, 81. there's 81 fantastic games. You know, that's because I'm asking you to pick your 3 games. So
Yeah.
Excellent. Right, listen, time is I'm just conscious of your time. Third game number 3. What
Now,
are you going
third,
to take?
like I say, that the second game, I decided not to go with Witcher 3 just because eventually I would tire of it because it's pretty much going to be the same scenario all the time. Though I love the game, and I might get frustrated as well because the women in Witcher 3 are absolutely super hot, and if I'm stuck on an island, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. So anyway,
Hang on a second. Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Got that.
Okay, so next up, a game I enjoy and you can play for hours and hours on end and never get bored of was Age of Empires 2. Love the Age of Empires games. Very much point and click,
Yep.
god gamey things, but
Ooh.
still very, very similar to the other games I've picked so far. So, and going back to what you were saying earlier about Man Friday maybe turning up, I'm going to go for an all-time classic. My third game would be Street Fighter 2.
I was waiting for that one to come. I did think that was going to be one of your choices.
I think after playing Player Manager and MUDs, I might just want a game that's an easy pick up and go, you know. And there's just something about Street Fighter that is just, if you're in the mood, it's just wonderful. It's simple, it's instinctive, it's a proper fighting game. And if somebody should ever come on the island and I got to entertain them, we can go at Street Fighter. That's down to the ground.
I was, you know, Raphael Checo. He did Cybernoid 2, all these games on the Spectrum. He also worked in a game that you promoted, Street Racer. You know, Raphael was the programmer on that, and he, sorry, spoiler, he actually, one of his 3 games was Street Fighter 2. I mean, I would love to be good at these games, and I'm just simply not, because I kind of look upon playing Street Fighter 2 as like picking up a guitar that you can't play. You're just making some notes. You want to be able to, you need to dedicate yourself to it. I have a few friends who, like, it's when you see Street Fighter 2 played properly, it's a genuine sport. And I was mentioning to Raphael, or Raf as he likes to be called, there's a video on YouTube. It's probably quite an old one, but we're talking about the XL World Championships. Well, you have Street Fighter 2 World Championships, and there's one particular bout where some guy is playing as Chun-Li, and the other guy I think is playing as Ken or something. And Chun-Li is like a ball hair. If you're a guy, you'll know what that is. A tiny little minuscule of energy. Chun-Li was almost dead, and then Ken launched this massive, ferocious attack. And Chun-Li just went block, all within a couple of seconds. And then she then launched an attack and won. And the place went, yeah! And they're like throwing chairs and they absolutely went mental. And I'm thinking, he's just playing Street Fighter. And then when you see it in slow motion, you think, that is actually skill. It's a proper skill.
We'll get back to this in a minute because it's going to come up in the next section of the show. But yeah, Street Fighter is one of the last fighting games that was about the player, not about the game. And it's a wonderful game. And you can just get on there and you can blast it. And it's got different modes of difficulty, so you can play it for enjoyment, or you can play it to really test yourself. And I think that having picked 2 reasonably intricate sporting games, I needed a game where I could just unwind.
Yeah. Release. I mean, you can't catch a fish for your tea that night. You can just release a bit of pent up anger, and Is there a particular version? Because obviously there's a lot of versions out there.
Yeah, I always feel I should be more of an aficionado on this because I talk to some people about it, obviously, and they know every single version and the frames per second and the delays and everything. But you know, the Street Fighter 2. Just straightforward Street Fighter 2, the one that came out in the arcades that we used to play standing up.
Would it be the arcade one you want, or do you want the SNES? All right.
Well, I want the arcade one, please.
Arcade one.
I love the arcade version. Yeah, that was me at my best. That one. I didn't do so well on the SNES. Big surprise. Nintendo's always been an Achilles heel for me. But because of the joypad, you know, I like to play it with a joystick.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. That as I said, there's been a few people have picked that one. So fantastic, right? Sorry to bring the mood a wee bit like your radio station. I'm going to take the mood down a wee bit. It's going to get a wee more dark and not quite so pleasant.
No
I'm going to ask you to pick 3 games that you wake up screaming in the middle of the night,
Okay.
cold sweat. Oh.
With these games, it may not be so much the game per se, but what they did and represent.
That is absolutely fine. Yeah, it's a bit like Michael J. Fox or Marty McFly. If you raise him in the future, then these other things won't happen.
Right. First game I'm getting rid of forever is FIFA football.
Yes.
I want the whole franchise gone, because when it first came out, it was wonderful. Okay, it was a good little football game, and then we used to use it on the TV shows a lot, on the 3DO, because the 3DO version of FIFA was one of the first properly realistic looking football games.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
come out, and we used to use that a lot on the TV show, and that was good. That was nice. And then it developed, and what FIFA did, in my opinion, is it grey squirreled the football genre in gaming, in that it gradually killed off all its competition. So like in this country now, you see no red squirrels, just a shit ton of grey squirrels.
Yeah.
Same with FIFA. There's no option now. You've got no choice. If you want to buy a football game now, there's FIFA. It's killed off everything. And now anything competition and variety is bad in my book. And what FIFA also did was not FIFA particularly, but it was one of the games that was responsible for this and was a part of this, was it made in-game purchasing almost impossible not to do,
like a requirement, to get anywhere.
Game, and it absolutely blindsided people, in that people I've got the new FIFA, it's expensive, 70 quid. Like, no, it wasn't. I bet you went home and you bought all your new cards and your player upgrades and everything, and you spent 150 quid this weekend on that. Yeah, that's a 220 quid game now. If they'd have asked you for 220 quid that game in the shop, would you have paid it? Well, no, of course I wouldn't have. No, exactly. When we used to buy games in the 90s, they were complete. When you bought it, what you got, you owned, and you knew what you were buying for the money. Now with games, you don't get that. FIFA's been an example of that. You can play it in its purest form, of course you can, but most people, if they're serious about it, they will dabble and put more money into it. And I think that has always been bad for gamers. I won't say bad for gaming, because gaming is an industry, but for gamers, it's a bad thing. We've allowed ourselves to become attached by a financial umbilical cord that we should never have allowed to be tied around our necks. And it's there now in gaming, and I could forgive all of that, I suppose, if there was variety out there. But FIFA slowly became so good, so big, and so well marketed that it killed off all the other football games. There isn't another football game. I mean, is there still a Pro Evo? Pro Evo used to be.
I'm not sure. What I will say though is, and you can go and grab it, is John here has released a thing called Sociable Soccer.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, I don't know if you've played that. It had a big release. Had a big update a couple of weeks ago, where the goalkeepers are much better. It's a lovely game, and I put out a video a couple of weeks ago, and it was like, is like Sociable Soccer better than Sensei? And again, spoiler, it's not as good, because it's a bit like they could make the best ever Jaws. It's never going to beat the original Jaws, because Sensei it's a thing of its time. Fantastic game, but Sociable Soccer is good. And I finished off saying, if your kid's wanting a £99 FIFA or whatever the hell they call it these days, buy them a Switch and buy them Sociable Soccer, and you get the best of both worlds. But I totally get you. I mean, one of my friends who did this a few months ago, he had a couple of new apprentices, and he's having a chat. Oh, is there anything interesting about he says, I kind of like I like computer games, and he says, anybody else like computer games? And one guy goes, yeah. He goes, what do you play? He goes, FIFA and COD. It's like, come back in tomorrow and tell me 2 actual games. People now talk about computer games as Call of Duty and FIFA. It's like, you're dead to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, they've grey squirreled the industry, unfortunately. But so FIFA franchise gone. Let's get some variety back. It was better when more franchises all fighting against each other, trying to outshine each other. Yeah, it's like when you have boxing, isn't it? And you have one guy unites all the belts and he kills the division when he does it. You know, I mean, it's like that. And unfortunately, FIFA did that.
Yeah, and not for the good. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, when you think about it, they've been making this game now for what one of the games I included in that video that I did was the original FIFA on the Mega Drive. It's actually bloody good, and even now it looks good. It was good fun. I was more a superstar, not a superstar stalker. I was more into the Japanese international superstar stalker. It's got fantastic speech. Like when the guy scores a goal, he goes, go, 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 go! And this is on a SNES. It's fantastic. So I was more a ISS than FIFA. But so they've been making FIFA now since 1990, which in my mind is what 30. They've been making it for 34 years. And
it's a wonderful exercise in marketing and PR because you know they absolutely rode the zeitgeist, and they moved with the times, and to the point now that the ratings the players are given in FIFA actually matters to the players in the real game, in the real world. You know what I mean? They actually they wait to see what their ratings are. What did I get in FIFA this year? Oh no, and you see them posing with their ratings and things like that. The tail has wagged the dog now. It's very interesting.
It's not for us old gamers. It's for the young team. They obviously lap up. But anyway, listen, you've got a couple of minutes. So game number 2 for the bin.
Okay, game number 2 for the bin will be Killer Instinct. Hey, because going back to what we were talking about earlier with Street Fighter was a wonderful game, very instinctive, limited number of moves. It wasn't about how many moves you had or could memorize. It was about how you used what you had in your weaponry, And Killer Instinct for me, I'm not sure if it was the first, but it's the first game I remember in my experience that chained together huge automatic combos. You like if you could catch the other player at just the right time by remembering just the right buttons to push and things to do with your joypad at just the right moment, you could put 16, 20 hits together sometimes, and the other player can do nothing about it but stand there. And that for me is horrible. I don't want to see that in a game. It just and then you went on with games like Tekken came out later, and Tekken 2, and more beat 'em ups came out, and it became all about these fantastic huge combos that you
diluted the gameplay.
And it kills the game because you can't play, because if someone catches you with that, all you can do is wait and watch your health bar and hope it doesn't go down too far before you get a chance to hit back, and that kills the game. Whereas with Street Fighter, you're very much in it, and it's instinctive and duck block, punch, low punch, high punch, and you're very much playing.
It's all meant,
it's all meant. It's all about how often you play it. When the game became about who could memorize more button sequences than someone else, then for me the game's gone. The human factor of the game's gone, and you're being played by the game, and I don't like to see that.
I think there's obviously it opened the floodgates. You say Tekken, and there was, when the PlayStation came out, there was all these hundreds of games and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that they still have competitions in Japan where they play Street Fighter, albeit I think they play Street, I don't know what it's up to now, 6 or something, or 7. It looks nice, but it's still very it's still limited moves, and it's still an actual art in itself. It's a kind of sport in itself.
About the player. It's about so you're watching the player to see what the player does, rather than just watching the screen, which is great.
I remember watching, obviously in Games Master, they'd have somebody would pull off 150 moves, and Dominic would go mental. And it's like, but as you say, it's pure. It's just automatic, and you're sitting waiting for it to finish.
Yeah, it's like it's just like first person to push the right number of buttons at the same time. It's just that's not for me.
So you didn't particularly single that game out. It's more or less what it led to. It led to the Tekkens and the
success of that game led to a change in the way fighting games were put together. And so I think if I get rid of it now, maybe like a John Connor thing. Maybe if I can just get rid of it, maybe the other stuff won't happen later.
I think the phrase I like to use is fur coat, no knickers. It was all about the graphics and
Yeah.
Listen, absolutely with you in that one. And your very last choice, Dave.
Okay, once again, very much along the same lines as the last one. It's not a game I particularly hate. It's not a game I think is bad. I've not particularly picked games that I think are bad because I don't think they do you any harm. Games that are bad, they're just bad games, and they'll go in the bin anyway, or be dug into the Nevada desert, famously.
Till somebody digs them up again.
Once again, games, a genre of games I'd like to get rid of, and the one I'm going to use as an example because it's one I've played recently, is The Two of Us. Okay, now this will be a shocker because people love this game, and everyone was telling me, "Got to play this game. Got to play this game. Two of Us 2 or whatever it was. You got to play two of Us 2, whatever."
Is that the one that the guys escaped from the prison?
I can't. No, it's they made the TV series of it recently as well. It was so successful. It's like, it's like in a future, and he's like a survivalist father, and he's got a daughter with him, and they go through all these different worlds.
You're not talking about Last of Us.
A Last of Us, that's it.
I was going to say The Two of Us. I'm thinking just The Two of Us.
You know what that is? You know what that is? I was watching the documentary, the Let It Be documentary about the Beatles. Get Back, like the Let It Be album, and of course there's a song on there called Two of Us, John Lennon.
I'm thinking I couldn't figure out your game. Yeah, The Last of Us, right? Got you. Yeah.
My head's been Twickenham. Last of Us, sorry, The Last of Us, yes, because everybody loves that game, and everyone was saying to me, I was saying to you, Two of Us 2 didn't sound right. Last of Us 2, and so they said, no, you got to play the first one. You got to play the first one because it follows on, and the first one's really good, not as good as the second one. So play the first one. So I got the first one, and I started playing it. And you know what? I'd rather watch a film. Games, because the two Last of Us. Sorry, Two of Us. I want to call it. I can't get it out of my head now. Last of Us and games of that ilk, games like that game, and there are plenty of them out there now. I have the feeling that games programmers, or a number of games programmers out there, are frustrated film producers. Are frustrated.
Yeah.
They want to be making movies, and all of a sudden they've got this great technology in front of them, all this AI and CGI and that, and they can put together these great scenarios and these worlds and these wonderful settings. And God of War is a little bit similar to this. And you spend your time in there and you're looking around and it's wonderful, and then you realize it's been 5 minutes since you had to do anything with your joystick. Do you know what I mean? You're sat, you're watching the dialogue is going on between the characters. Oh no. And it's incredible. You know, you're watching it and then something happens and some giant suddenly bursts out of a wall or something, you know, not in The Last of Us, but maybe in God of War. But yeah, and that sort of thing, you go, oh, it's incredible. And you realize you haven't done anything. And then all of a sudden a little bit comes and you play the game. And so maybe for 5-6 minutes, you play your way through a section. And then suddenly the game takes over.
Back in again.
You go back on rails, and you have to go to the next. You go through all this scenario being set, and suddenly a radio switches on. Somebody announces something, or a telephone rings, so your character picks the telephone up. And you're like, I'm not actually playing a game. What the hell is this? I'm sat here watching some developers attempt to put a small movie together, and of course it does work because so many of these games are now being turned into TV series and small things. But I'm picking out The Last of Us because that's the last game I played that I found like that and got massively frustrated because there've been an awful lot of them. These games basically, they're not games. I don't know what you would call them. They're certainly digital entertainment, but they're not games.
I would think they're almost like interactive movies. I think,
they almost are, yeah. Back to the early days of what was he called? Space
Dragon's Lair, and
Pretty much just go along for the ride.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I really I've played Last of Us a couple of times, and my daughter, I used to let her kind of sit and watch it, and I got quite emotionally attached to it because it's, you know, again, a spoiler at the very, very start. It's like, holy shit. I did enjoy it. I totally get what you're saying, and I do completely agree with you. There's very, very little. I mean, you look at any. I subscribe to Microsoft Game Pass, I think it is. Now, I put my Xbox on for the first time in a couple of months, like last night, and I'm like, first-person shooter, and I downloaded. It's mental now. You can now run a game from the cloud. you know, you don't even have to install it. I don't even know how that works. I've no idea. But I started playing an Aliens game. I'm like, oh, I'm bored of this. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Give me a game of Drop Zone in the Commodore 64 or something, or Defend or whatever. And one of the comments I made to, I think it was Raphael. I've a few mates. I'm probably one of the few kind of. I was going to say the people that I know. Most of my mates have kind of moved on and they're not into video games. But the ones that are, they've got a PlayStation 5 and they play this. And I'll say, oh, what you been up to? Oh, I completed blah blah Call of Duty Black Ops 5. I completed it and then I played it again in the Saturday and I completed it. And I'm like, all right, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, nobody give. If I went to work and says I've completed Last of Us, they were like, all right, I watched Coronation Street. Whereas if I went in tomorrow and says I got 100,000 in Defender, they'd be like, whoa. Or maybe they wouldn't. They'd be like, what? But I would brag. I would brag that I've got like 1 million in Defender. Nobody gives a shit whether you complete Last of Us. And as you say, it's an interactive game. I completely get what you're saying.
It is long for the ride, really, and that's a shame. You know, I'm not keen on those. I mean, I chose games there that I thought would just be a little bit contentious and bring up some conversation. I could have gone, you know, the Rise of Robots and Cyberpunk and all that rubbish.
It's a bit too predictable, that, isn't it? I know.
Yeah. So
I know.
Stuff that's a little bit more contentious, just because it creates conversation, doesn't it?
It does. Listen, mate, I can already hear the cheering in the background. I think Tottenham have just scored. But anyway, I'm going to let you get off. Listen, Dave, massive thank you for coming on to this thing again. You're an absolute gentleman. You really are. And, you know, you're welcome anytime. I'm probably going to try and get another 12-hour live stream next year, get some more. I did one last year and we got £1,000 for charity, which was fantastic. I'm going to get you back onto that. I know you were very generous. You made a nice donation, and more importantly, you gave up your time. So, listen, Dave, just want to thank you again for coming on. Thanks very much for everyone listening, and I hope you and the family have a very Merry Christmas and a safe 2025, and we'll catch up on the other side, buddy.
Merry Christmas to you, buddy, and to your family, and of course, all the listeners.